Hello and welcome to Power Hour. Today's topic is how to, in Power Apps, upload files directly from a Power App to a SharePoint document library without using a Power Automate flow. The files just go directly to the library from the app. So I'll be demoing that, and my reference is from a blog post by Luis Rees. So here we go. All right, so we have situations sometimes in Power Apps where we need to put files directly into a document library. Of course, out of the box, if you want to upload files and you have a list item, you could easily just put attachments on that list item and save the form, and then that just works. That just works out of the box. So if you're looking to just have list item attachments, there's not anything special you need to do. But there are a lot of situations where you might want to have a document library to use all the benefits of having a document library, like version history, retention labels, collaboration. And I have a whole big list listed. We have some notes here. So when you want to do this, there are some other methods that involve uploading files using a flow from your Power App. But this method that Luis Rees came up with is going to show you how to upload the files just directly from the Power App to the library. So first of all, I'll show you what it looks like to do this, and I'll show you, and then I'm going to start from scratch and create a brand new library. I already have a Power App built. It's like contract management is going to be the example. So think about contracts, a bunch of files you have, and you have some metadata, but you just have like a ton of files that you have to upload and to be associated with like a contract. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Now here we are over in my Power App. So I'm going to start by just showing you this functionality and show you what it looks like when it goes. So I've got this contract management form. I'm going to say test, it's 1102 right now, test contract 1102. And then I've got this just very simple, I'm just going to put some kind of test file in here. And just the first time I'm showing you this, all I'm doing is uploading it. I'm not submitting the form and doing a bunch of other stuff. So I'm just clicking upload, and the file goes straight to SharePoint. So here, let me refresh the library, and there's the new folder it created, and there's the file. So, and you could put multiple files. I'll just do it one more time. I'll just create a couple of them. And then I'll just change this to 1103 and then upload one more time. And look how fast that is. So I'll go back up and 1103, and there are my 3 files, right? Isn't that awesome? So, all right. So, and then here I've ramped it up a little bit more, and I'm going to show you what it looks like to I just have a copy of it that I've built. I've put it all together with this form and the metadata on the form so that I'm submitting the form and it's going to add the attachments. So I'll just put, these are just like my demo, policies and stuff like that we use for demos. So I'll just say test 1104, and then I'll put, I'll fill in like test vendor there. So I filled in a couple of pieces of metadata, and then I submit, and now it's actually submitting the form and uploading the attachments, and it's going to navigate me away. So let's go look at that one. Test 1104. And then so this one, I put metadata on it. Oh yeah, because I had that data in that form, and then it put it in here in the files and on the folder. So I actually had it like it was applying it to all those files as I went. And I'll show you kind of the logic that it uses when it does the metadata, so you can understand how that works, because the metadata was kind of the trickiest part. So if you need to have If you just need your files to go just directly into the library with just the folder being the only metadata you need, with just like the name of a contract, that's super easy, and that just does that very quickly. But then it was a little bit more complex to actually add in the part. It was a little duct tapey, a little MacGyver-y to add in the part where it adds the metadata to the files as well. So that was one of the additional things that Chris actually figured out was the kind of the best way to do that. So, and you all let me know in the chat if you have any questions. We have this live chat going on where wherever you're watching this video, you can request to join, and you join in Teams and we invite you. And so we have notes in here. So I want to show you the notes that I've shared with you in Teams, because I want to definitely give a shout out to Louise Fries. She wrote this blog post that inspired me for this method for uploading files straight from a Power App to a library. So this is a link to Louise's post, how to upload to SharePoint for Dataverse integration in a Power Apps Canvas app. So she mentions Dataverse in her blog post, but mine has nothing to do with Dataverse. I'm not using Dataverse, but this method still works. So also another thing we'll be referencing in here is how to locate the site ID, because that's one of the things we'll need. So I'm going to build this from scratch and show you how it all works. So that is Louise. We hang out. She's another MVP. So we hang out at conferences and stuff. And she's super sharp, super smart. I highly recommend you following her blog. It's m365princess.com. So, all right. So here we go. I've got this contract management list. I'm going to say I want to fill out a new contract. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is I have this form already. I have this app. I built it in a previous Power Hour. And then what I don't want to do is I don't want to use the out-of-the-box just attachments for a list item. The whole point of this is I want to put it in a library instead of it being a list item attachment. And so you have a few different reasons that you might want to do this. You have, if you have it in a library, then you can keep the files organized with metadata. You can have versioning, which you can't have with a list item attachment. You can have it create folder structures. You can collaborate on those files among teams of people, instead of those files being buried as attachments in a list item, which are kind of harder to get to. You can also sync that library down to your computer and then be able to quickly access the files that way. You can have advanced file management concepts like retention, legal hold policies, searchability, like when you're doing just searches in Microsoft 365, version history, co-authoring, large files. And it's ideal more for like audits and historical reference, permissions, retention labels, compliance requirements. So think about all those reasons I just listed, that libraries are better for storing files than list item attachments. So with that said, I'm going to go back to the chat so I can see if you all have questions as we're going. So just let me know. So I'm going to take this contract management form and I'm going to create a brand new library and show you how to connect it to that library. So this is just the contracts library that I had been using. I'm going to do a brand new one. I'll just say new document library and then just a blank library. And I'll say contracts. And then I'll put today's date, 9/3, just so, just to differentiate it from other libraries. All right. Contracts 9/3. And then I'll go ahead and what I need to do next is there are a couple things you need to do when you are looking at Louise's blog post. So here it is. So the prep work that she mentions is that you need to get the what's called a site ID and a drive ID. So I've figured out a pretty easy way to get the drive ID. These are both GUIDs that you'll need. And so the way you get the site ID is you take the name of your the URL to your SharePoint site. So I've got like sites/power hour like that. And then you just put on the end, you put that /API. Let me get it back out of the chat here. I just had it there. Go back. There. So I put this in the chat. It's _API/site/ID/, and then this is your site ID. So that's what you'll need. You'll need this as part of the solution. And then, because you'll need to have that as a variable. And then the next thing you're going to need is a drive ID. So the easy way that easier than delving into Microsoft Graph, the easy way that I figured out to get the drive ID is to get it, and it's like in the raw data in that library. So I'm going to go ahead and add that library, that one I just created, SharePoint, and then go to my site here, and then go to contracts. Yeah, there it is, contracts 93. And then I'm going to go just on a blank screen. So I need to collect it to be able to get this, to look at the data. So I'm going to put just one file in here. So there's at least just something that exists in this library. So when I collect, it will have something to collect. So then I go insert a button, and I'm just going to do a collect. So clear collect. And then I'm going to put that contracts 93. Oops, I got to put the name of the collection first. Sorry. There. So I'm going to name this collection. It's like just a temporary collection just to go get this drive ID. So I'll go ahead and click this button. And then when I look, and now I have this new collection that I created, but I need to go look at it. So I'll go view the table. And then here, since I have at least one item in here, I'm able to go look at this drive ID. So the drive ID is what I need. So it doesn't let you copy and paste from here, unfortunately. So then I have to do another step of adding a gallery and then put that collection in here. And then I just need to find that little one piece of data. So I know it's kind of kludgy just to get the drive ID. Drive ID. Not drive item ID, that's the GUID for each item. I just need the drive ID. So then when I preview this, I'm able to just copy the drive ID. So I have that. And then what I need to do with it is put it in these variables that she mentions. So in her blog post, she gives you this syntax of, let me show you the other one that I created, of how to do this. I copied this off of her blog. So you have to rename your attachments control to just be called attachments, and you just paste this code off of her blog. And so this is the variable, that's the site ID that we got by going to this URL right here. And then this is the drive ID that we have to put in a variable. And then this other thing right here is going to be what it calls the folder. So all I did was I just put whatever's in this text box right here. That's what I'm naming the folder. So I just called it that. And but that's 3 different variables that you can put in here. So what it's doing is when you click the button, it's saying for everything that you've attached, when you click attach file, for each attachment, it runs this Office 365 group. So what you have to do is, and I already did this, is you have to add the Office 365 groups connector. So you just do add data. And it's right here. So I literally just clicked on it, and then I have the Office 365 Groups connector. So this formula uses the Office 365 Groups connector, HTTP request. This is so obscure. I'm so glad she figured it out. And it uses this syntax to say, here's the site it's going to, /drives, here's the library it's going to, and then here's the folder. And for what I did was I just typed the name of a text box .value. And then it's taking each attachment, like this record.name, it's taking that, whatever the name of each file is that's in the attachment control. And it's uploading them all, and then it's resetting the attachment control. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this, this one that I created, that we just created, this contracts 93. We're going to use that GUID for our drive ID. I already got the site ID. Of course, you only have one ID for each site. And then we're going to use those as variables. Now, what you can do is if you only have one, if you're only using one library and one site in your app, you could literally just set those variables in formulas when the app starts, or in the on start when the app starts, set the variables there. But since I'm demoing this with a couple of different libraries, and I've tested this a few different times, I'm just going to put in mine, this is the one I'm going to do this on. I'm just going to say on visible. So get rid of whatever was in there. And on visible of this specific screen, I'll just set the variables there. So like I did that on this other screen. So I'll just copy this, and I'm just going to change the drive ID because I was using that other document library. I'm just trying to make this not take too long. So the drive ID that I have, I had just copied to my clipboard. So that's going to be different for each library. Oops. So now let me undo that. There it is. Okay. So there's my new drive ID for this library, contracts 93. So now when I arrive on this screen, that's those are the variables that I'm going to use. Now, the next thing that I want to do is decide what I want the folder to be called. So in this case, you might want it just to be the name of the contract. So what I'm going to do is I want people to be able to just fill out this form and upload the attachments and then just click submit. Obviously I don't want them to have to click upload and then submit a form and have it be two separate things. That's too confusing. So that's why in that second example that I showed you, I put everything just happening all together in one big submit. So, and then the very simple code that I just showed you that she uses, just all it does is upload the files. I'm combining that with a few other things. So I'm kind of going to break it down and show you what I'm doing. All right, so let me go over to this one. This is the one that I showed you that you're submitting it and just submits everything. So the first step, and she talks about this in her blog, is you take you have to have a regular form control. Of course, I say first step. The first step is to get all those variables. The next step is to have a form control. Now, we're not going to just use the form control just in this list item. So even if you're not using any list items in your app, you still need to just put a temporary form control on the screen where you need to have this attachments control, because first of all, the only way to get an attachment control is to steal it out of an existing list item attachment like this. And also you can't copy and paste them from screen to screen, which I learned the hard way. You have to be on the screen that you're going to need to upload the files, put your list form on there, and then have the attachments. So this is my form, and this is just a regular SharePoint list. And I was sure to add, when I added fields, to add the attachments, because I need to steal this little thing right out of here. So this data card value one, the thing with the attachment little icon on it, that's the thing that I need to cut and paste. So I'll just copy and paste it. So I'll copy that. And then I can just click somewhere else on the screen and paste it. And then now it's free. Now I've got a free attachment control that's not stuck inside of an actual list form. So now I can take this whole attachments card and just delete that. I don't need it. So what I'm going to do is just take this whole form and just kind of make it a little shorter just so I can have this be like a separate thing down here. Because you're probably going to also want, and we can do this too, is to have a list of the files that if you're looking at existing items, have a list of the files that you've already uploaded, the associated files in the library. So I'll see how much of that I'll be able to build all. So I'm trying to kind of hurry. All right, I'm going to take this thing out. I don't need, it's got this border color like error. I'll just put color black like that. It's got a couple of errors when you kind of steal it out of the control, out of the form control. I'm going to delete the items property. And tooltip, it doesn't matter, upload stuff. There. And what else? Display mode, parent.display mode. I'm going to say I want the display mode to be whatever FRM purchase, whatever its display mode is. So there, because it doesn't have a parent because I stole it out of that control. So now it's out here all alone and it's not attached. So this is where people are going to be attaching their files. And this is where it's going to be looping through and taking all the files from here and putting them in SharePoint. Now, what she says in her blog post is to rename that attachment control and call it attachments. So I have to rename this. I did this on another screen though. So let me go rename the other one to say like old or something. There we go. So, because I can't have two with the same name. All right, so I'm going to take this and call it attachments. Because if you just use the word attachments, just like in her code, then when you copy and paste it, all the references will work. So then the next thing, let's see, what is this? What is going on with this? I did this in a different demo. I think I just had it disabled for a reason. All right, so the submit button is not disabled. So first thing that I'm going to do is show you that code that and how it works with just an upload button. So we'll just do like one little button and all it does is upload. And we'll just make sure, we like to do baby steps when we're building something or troubleshooting. We'll just make sure this is going to take whatever I put here and put it in that new library. So I'm going to take that code. I'll show you just from her blog post. And so it's right here. Copy. I could also copy it from the other spots in this app where I did that, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to just paste her code. So no errors, look at that. So I named my variables the exact same thing that she named hers. I have var site ID, which is being set when I arrive on this screen. Same with the drive ID. And then var folder is the one that I'm going to just use whatever the name of that contract is. So I'm going to say, let's see, contract name. I'll just say txt. Let's rename this. I'll call it contract. I use that somewhere else. There, txt contract. And so I'll reference this little box. Now, this is just baby steps again. This is temporary. So I'm going to say, for var folder, I'm going to say txt contract dot value. So whatever they type in that box is going to be what it calls the folder. So now let's just try it. I think I need to make sure it's a new form. So let's see, did I select new form? New. Attach file. So there's just one file. All this button does is upload it. So that's why I didn't bother filling out the form. So that was that original file that I had put in here. And then, ooh, it didn't put a folder. Oh, because I didn't type anything. So I didn't type anything in that text box that I was telling it to be the folder name. So it didn't put it in a folder. That makes sense. So I'll just say test 124, and I'll do another one. Upload. Okay, and it instantly uploads. So there's test 1124, and there's my file. So it doesn't have any metadata or anything in it yet, but it has a folder. So that's pretty cool. So now we're going to tie all this together and have, excuse me, and have it submit the form, put the file in SharePoint, and take some metadata from the form and put that in there as well. So I'm going to take, it's a lot of code Chris figured out. I'm going to take the code and just paste it, but I'll explain what everything is in there. So that is from this other little copy over here. So the best practice in SharePoint when you're submitting a form, if you want something to happen after you submit the form, is to have it in the on success of the form control. So if I'm submitting a form, I don't want to put all this stuff happening here in the on select of the submit button. I want it to be happening in the on success of the form control itself. So I go to this form control for this FRM purchase, and I am going to go to the on success property. So right now all it's doing is navigating. Delete that. And I'll paste all this stuff. So now let's break it down. So this is the typical thing that I've taught you probably 100 times of just whenever you submit a form, just take like FRM purchase. That's the name of this form that I'm on right now. Take the name of the form .last submit and set that in a variable. So I'm just setting that in a variable. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm taking the title of the thing that I just submitted. So this right here is actually the title column in SharePoint. So it's just the title. So it's taking whatever I've typed in here as this in this field that gets submitted to SharePoint, and it's going to put that in here as the var folder. So whenever I reference something that's any piece of data in that record that I just submitted that is now gone, it's gone to SharePoint now, it's a new list item, I do var record dot. So I'm doing var record dot title. So the folder is going to be the title. And then here's the part where that was Luis's code, where you just do the for all the attachments, then it's putting them in SharePoint. So I need to refer to my attachments control, the one on this screen. So that's what, I don't want to mess myself up by having like other names of other things from the other screens in here. So my attachments control is the one it's referencing. Then I have my site ID, drive ID, and my var folder, which I just set right here. And then it's looping through them all and putting them in SharePoint. Then here's the tricky part. This is the part that Chris figured out, is how do you know which file you just created in SharePoint? So typically a method that we use in Power Apps is you could run this function and then wrap it in a variable and then like extract information from the variable. But when you try that with this data, with this Graph API data, it's just this big unusable, like it's really, I spent a couple hours trying to get like an ID or anything out of it, and I just could not. So instead of being able to try to use the data that you get back when you're using this function, what we did was figured out a way that you could divulge which files were just uploaded in a different way. So it's saying, it's setting a variable of now minus 10 minutes. So it's saying basically anything that has been uploaded in the last 10 minutes, it's going to go collect that. So because when we're doing this filter in a second, the thing that we're filtering on won't work when you're going straight to the library. So you get delegation errors. So that's why we're collecting this tiny little collection of just anything that's been uploaded in the last 10 minutes. And then we're going to use that in our filter. So we're saying clear collect. We're getting this collection of all the uploaded files that were just created in the last 10 minutes. And then for all, we're filtering just that tiny little collection of everything uploaded in the last 10 minutes. We're filtering it where the title is blank, so we don't have nothing exist in that title column yet. And the created by is me, the currently logged in user. So that narrows it down even further. And then we're saying filter, and then it says as data one. So it's saying, Chris uses this as a lot. I feel like he'd be better in explaining it than me, but he's like just taking this filtered set of data and calling it data one. So then you're patching. So this is how we're going to go patch the metadata. So all this complicated stuff right here is just the part where you put the metadata in it. So if you just need some files in a folder, then, and you don't need any columns, then you're done. You don't need to follow any more of these instructions. But this additional part we're doing is we're adding columns and filling in metadata. So I'll just do a column called vendor name, like that. And then maybe I want to reference the ID of the original item. So I'll say, let's see, number, original ID. And then that way I can put the ID of that parent item, that contract, that list item in this library. And that way I'll be able to reference those as well. Okay, because we're going to want to see a list of the files that are associated with any given contract when we're looking at the list form, right? Okay, so we're saying patch contracts. Now, I'm not patching the contracts list. I've got this contracts 93. So I need to just make sure and change my code to say contracts 93. That's that other library. Collect contracts 93, and then contracts 93. Yeah, it's just confused now because I changed the name of that. Let me make sure there was nothing else in here referencing that. Okay. Okay, so then it's going to patch to contracts 93. And it's giving me an error because it doesn't have these columns in it. It has these two columns that I just created in this library. So vendor name and original ID, that's the metadata I'm patching. So that's what this part right here is. So I'll put a comment in here. I'm looking to see if y'all have any questions so far. Would it work with a document set? That's a good question, Scott. We covered document sets and contracts in a couple of power hours ago. I don't know off the top of my head if there's a way to get a Power App to create a document set. I've never tried that, but the Power App automatically creates the folders. So, and it also is applying the metadata to the folder. It's not going to do the thing where the metadata trickles down from the folder to all the items. And if you change it later, this is just applying all the metadata in a big patch. So I'm not sure. I'm glad you asked that though. So vendor name is what I need. So let's see, vendor name. Oh, you know what I do? I need to refresh this. That's why it doesn't know, because I just added those columns. But when you add columns and you're working on a Power App, it doesn't automatically know that. See, now it does. Now it sees it. So vendor name is going to be var record dot, and that was my vendor name, like that. And then the other metadata I created was original. Oh, I got to put a comma here. Original ID, and that's going to be my var record.id. All right, so those are just, you can add a whole bunch. You can put a ton of metadata. I just wanted to give like 2 examples here. So then it's just going to refresh contracts 93 and reset that attachments. I'm kind of making sure all these refer to this screen that I'm working on, and then navigate back. So let me just do an overview of all this. Okay, so setting of error record. This is a standard thing you do on Success on any form control you're using. Then it's setting the variable called var folder to have just the title of this contract. So that's what I want the folders to be called, the name of the contract. Then for all the attachments, it's sending them to SharePoint using this site ID, drive ID folder. And then this is the part where it's kind of kludgy and duct tapey, where I'm trying to get what the files were that were uploaded in the last 10 minutes, filter them down to the ones I created and that don't have a title, and the created by email is equal to my email. I'll have to look and see like why in the world that's erroring out. And then it's naming that data 1, and then it's patching contracts 93 to, and it's looking up and getting the ID of this item, and it's patching these 2 columns. So it's looking at, this is how it knows which ID to go get, and this is how it knows which columns that it's patching, and then it's just refreshing the data set. So let me save that. Maybe if I go back out and go back in, that error didn't make any sense. So I think I'll just go back out and go in and see if it goes away. Contract management app. Robin says, do you have to use a folder? Nope. You notice that in that example when I just simply didn't provide it a folder, it just put the file directly in the library. So nope, you don't have to use a folder at all. All right, and then, but you could also use multiple layers of folders if you wanted to, which again, you know, folders are, you know, it's this whole folders versus metadata debate that we've had over the years. So this is kind of combining both together. All right, why is it FRM purchase? Okay. I'm not sure why that created by isn't working, but that doesn't make any sense. So, okay, back home, create a new. Okay, so let's try this out. Oh, I can get rid of this little button, this extra button I created too. Yeah, so that is that error with the created by. It's weird that it doesn't have created by in here. I might just like delete that for now. Yeah, because it's only just me right now using this, so I'll just add that back in later. I'll just comment that out. There. So I just commented that out. No idea why it's not working. Every single list in library automatically has a created by, so that doesn't make any sense. Let's see if I'm causing any other problems in here. The dot operator. Filter. Oh, this is the other, yeah, the other library, the other screen also decided to be weird too. So just get rid of that. Okay, no more errors. I wonder since I had multiple screens kind of trying to do the same demo, if I had just like done something that confused the 2 different forms from each other. Let me see if I take this comment out, if it, yeah, there it is, created by .email. Yeah, so I think I had just kind of messed it up and confused it because I was doing like the same code on multiple screens. I don't know. Okay, so it works now. Cool. Let's try it out. This is a new contract. I'm using my vendor name in my metadata. My vendor's George. And then the other piece of metadata I was using is just the ID, so I'm not going to bother filling out all this other stuff. I'll just attach a couple of files and go. So now it's submitting. You can see the little dots going across the top, and then it's navigating away. So refresh that, and look at that. So test 1139, and see it even puts the data in the metadata on the folder as well. So it puts the metadata on the folder. I'm not sure why it didn't do that one. That is weird. Oh, is it still going? All right, test 1139. So what we're gonna do is, I think it's just delayed, is I'll show you how to go in the Power App and then put a gallery on the Power App that will then show you the files related to that contract. So, you might have a situation where all you want to do is upload files. You just want an interface for users to upload files and be done with it, and they don't necessarily need to see them later. But you do have a way that you would be able to display them, see them later by using a gallery. So I'll stick a gallery on here, and my gallery is going to refer to contracts 93, and it's going to, I'll move this down, and I'm going to change this to just be like the title. It's kind of funky in here. There we go. So, okay, I'll put does it have a field in there? It has one field, this item.title. So I'm going to filter this. So it's whatever form that I'm currently on, that's going to be the items that it'll show. So let me just, so that something will show here, I got to go sit on an existing item. So test 1139 is the one that I just did. Oops. So hold on. There. So now I'm on test 1139. So then I'm going to filter this so that it's to make sure, then we'll see that it's filtering to show the items in that specific item, that specific metadata. Filter contracts 93 where orig ID equals, and then that's going to be that var record of the item that I'm on. And I need to make sure that when I'm clicking on something in my gallery that it is setting that var record. And that's why I kind of use that in all the solutions that I do to make sure that it's kind of tying everything together. So when I click on here, I need to make sure that is setting that var record. So what do I have in my on select? Yeah, set var record to this item. So it sets var record to this item, and this item's test 1139. And then I need to filter this and make sure, see, you can see that it's got two items in here. I just don't see any data. Insert another text box, this item dot file name. There we go. Make that a little bigger. All right, let's try another one. New contract. Vendor name. And that's all I need right now. And oh, another thing that I would need to do is make sure this gallery isn't showing when it's a brand new item that doesn't have anything associated with it, right? Because yeah, so now it's still showing the things that were in there from the previous item. These are all things that we, build upon as we're building these things. Okay, so I'll go ahead and attach performance metrics. Let me see. I don't want to put anything too gigantic in here for just testing. Code of conduct and sick leave. There we go. And then submit that. So I'm going to say, just so this doesn't show while I'm on a new item, that's the quick way that you can do that, is to say, go to the visible property and refer to the name of the form, purchase dot mode is not, let's see, equals mode form mode dot edit. So it's only going to show when I'm editing an existing item. You could say form mode is not new. So the mode is, see, now it disappears. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and submit that. And so it's going to take those two files, upload them to SharePoint, submit the form, all those things, and then take me back to the contract management list. And then here's test 1143. So here's my big test to see what it's got in here. Okay, so now the problem is that it's putting the names of the folders in here. So we don't want to see the names of the folders in this little filtered set of files. We only want to see just the files themselves. So I'll go ahead and go to the items property and say is folder. So not is folder. So now it's only got the files that are associated with that thing. And then of course you can make it look prettier. You could put little icons you could even make it show an image of what the file looks like. But those are the associated files. I think I'll do that just for fun. I'll put an image in there. Insert image. And then the image is going to be the thumbnail. Move that over a little. This item dot thumbnail. Small. Oh, isn't that cool? Look, so there's it's a little picture of each of the files there. And then I don't have anything happening when I click on it. So what you'd probably want to do is when somebody clicks on one of these files, you want it to open the files. So I'll just say on select, launch. And launch is what it is, basically a hyperlink. And it's going to say this item dot link to item. So here's my policy for vacation. I click on it, and my browser has been behaving like this ever since I got fiber internet. So that has nothing to do with solution, the little error. But there's my policy for vacation. So that's how you can have it show the files, show a picture of the file. You click on it and it goes to the file, and then you could add more files on an existing item. Pretty cool, right? Wow, squeezed it in less than an hour. So I love this solution. So I'm going to go over just a few more concepts of why you would go to all this trouble and why you would do something like this when you could literally just take list item attachments and just attach it to an item and then be done with it. Again, think about keeping files organized with metadata in the library. You have all these great things that you get with a document library, like versioning. You can always go see who edited what and when they edit it. You could have folder structures or not, and you could be able to collaborate on those files from within the library if you needed to. You could sync it down to OneDrive. We have a customer where we did a case management thing like this, and she just, connected the OneDrives, that library to her OneDrive, so she could take all these files. It's like 100 files for each of these case management cases, and be able to just select a bunch of them, zip them up, and send them to people, something like that. And then you could also have, if you needed to have things like retention and legal hold on your libraries, you'd be able to use that. Let me switch back over here. A couple more things is that you would be able to, it seems to, as far as I can tell, support pretty large files. And again, sends them straight in here. It's not going to have any of those flow file limitations that you have. It gives you the ability to, of course, organize things by metadata, sort and filter by those columns. You have them in the library for audits and historical reference. And you do need to give people permission, at least contribute permission to that library. So whoever's going to be using your app does need to have contribute permission in that library, because they are technically uploading the files directly in there. So just some things to keep in mind. Let's see, I think we had some questions. Yeah, I'm glad you like it, Robin. I'm glad you like it, Glenna. Great, cool. So yeah, so I think this is a great solution. There are a lot of different ways to do this. There are ways that people have figured out how to upload the files using a flow, but this just kind of, I feel like it's much simpler. Now the part about putting the metadata on it, and that part is that's the part that's a little wonky. But as far as just the files going straight into SharePoint, it's super fast and has less moving parts, I think. So thanks everybody for watching. We have Power Hour on Wednesdays at 11 Central. Again, I'm Laura Rogers. This is Joelle Jobson in the window, and we have a schedule button on the top of our website at iwmentor.com if you'd like to see when the next Power Hours are happening. And we have, of course, training courses on our site of all these products: SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate. And so check out our training courses. So thanks everybody for watching, and thanks Joelle, and we'll see you next time.